What is up, y'all? Welcome to the FAA podcast. Got a lot of football happening this weekend. NFL back in action, full slate of week 1 games. College football week 2. Also in full swing as well. So let's get to it. Let's talk about some games. So Friday we had one game to pick. Kansas 34-23 over Illinois. Knew I should have took in the Jayhawks spread. Just knew Jalen Daniels was going to ball out, and that he did. The Jayhawks quarterback Jalen Daniels returned 21 of 29, 72.4%, 277, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 11 carries, 24 yards. Really good to see the preseason Big 12 Player of the Year back in action after missing week 1. But yeah, special player for sure. And the reason why Kansas has a shot in the Big 12. Luke Altmaier for the Illini there, 19 of 28, 67.9%, 202 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 13 carries, 70 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns for him. Kansas running back Devin Neal led the game in rushing. Big night for him, 10 carries, 120 yards, touchdown, 4 catches, 47 yards, 167 yards on 14 touches is not too shabby. His running mate, the Jayhawks were really running over the Illini defense. Daniel Highshaw Jr., 2 yards short of 100 there on 12 carries and a touchdown. You had Jayhawks running back Torrey Laughlin catch a 4-yard touchdown as well. Illinois wide receiver Isaiah Williams led the game in receiving, 6 catches, 99 yards. And then receiving touchdowns coming from tight ends. Kansas's Jared Casey and Illinois' Tip Ryman. It's a fantastic name. Tip. Great. Defensive player of the game. I mean, there's 3 guys with 2 sacks and 2 tackles for loss. So all 3 of those guys. But I'll go with the top one that had the most tackles, Illinois defensive lineman Jerzon Newton. 6 tackles, all of them solos. Like I said, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Player coming up in April, right, Logan?
Yeah, getting a lot of round 1 hype, and as you can see, he's matching that hype.
Yes, sir. Kansas minus 3.5 covered. Like I said, under 57.5 by the hook. On Saturday, go Dogs. Number 1, Georgia, beating up on Ball State, 45-3. Is a little less of a slower start, I feel like, than week 1. No score after the first quarter, but it's all right because the Dogs had a 31-point second quarter in them. Started off by the short guy, short king stand up, Mekhi Muse, wide receiver, 5'8". Punt returner as well for the Dogs, 3 catches, 27 yards. And like I said, started the scoring with a 69-yard punt return touchdown. But Carson Beck looked a lot better, I thought, in his second game. 23 of 30, 76.7%, 283 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 5 carries, 17 yards. And then Ball State ended up playing 3 quarterbacks in this game. Georgia did too, but Vandegrift nor Stockton did anything of note passing-wise. But Lane Hatcher, he was not the starter, but the former Arkansas State and Texas State quarterback getting in for Ball State now. 10 of 16, 62.5%, 82 yards. Caden Samanza, he was the true freshman that got the start in this game. 7 of 16, 43.8%, 55 yards, 3 picks. Struggled a lot. And then Kyle Kelly also played 1 of 5 passing, 20%, 10 yards, 3 carries, 16 yards. UGA running back Roderick Robinson, the second, led the game in rushing, 6 carries, 38 yards, and a touchdown. Kendall Milton also scored a touchdown on on the ground for the Dogs, and Cash Jones had a fantastic toe tapper on the sideline on a long wheel route from Carson Beck to catch his touchdown there. Dogs wide receiver Arian Smith led the game in receiving, tied the game actually in receiving with tight end Oscar Delp. 2 catches, 50 yards apiece. And receiving touchdowns coming from Georgia wide receivers Marcus Rosemy Jack Saint and Dylan Bell, who had a rushing touchdown. It was interesting to see 86 in the backfield getting some carries, but he was effective. It was weird. Defensively, there wasn't a lot, so I'm going to go with Georgia defensive back Tyke Smith, 3 tackles, 2 solos, 1.5 tackles for loss, 1 pick. Do got to mention Chaz Chambliss, the Achilles pick, as I call it, anyways. I forget. It was I know some people said there's the kick 6, and now we had the kick pick. After Chambliss picked off Samanza after he threw it, and it hit the ankle of his receiver and bounced back to Chambliss.
Nice.
Georgia minus 42 pushed, and the under 52.5 hit. Number 5, Ohio State, 35-7 over Youngstown State. The Penguins fought hard. They did. Kyle McCord, a lot better in this one. Granted, he's playing about half the talent that he played against Indiana last week. 14 of 20, 70%, 258 yards, 3 touchdowns. But the biggest thing was getting the receivers involved finally, like they didn't last week. Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, both big games. Harrison, 7 for 160, 2 touchdowns. Egbuka, 5 for 94 and a touchdown. That's the key. Throw those 2 guys the balls, and you'll probably win.
Yeah. This was a reminder of who Marvin Harrison Jr. is. Was quiet last week and just absolutely exploded this week, and I think he'll be fine. Get back on track.
Yeah, my Marvin Harrison Jr. Heisman narrative is back on schedule as I expected.
Nice.
We're back, baby. My natty might be off, but my Heisman's still there. We'll get to that.
Devin Brown also came in for Ohio State, 7 of 13, 53.8%, 101 yards. Mitch Davidson, I believe, got the start for Youngstown State, 12 of 18, 66.7%, 98 yards, and a rushing touchdown. And then Bo Brungard also playing for the Penguins, 5 of 8, 62.5%, 37 yards, and a pick. Youngstown State running back Tyshawn King actually led the game in rushing, 12 carries, 66 yards. Travion Henderson, though, for the Buckeyes, 2 touchdowns on his 5 carries. Also caught a couple balls. Mentioned the receivers already. And then defensive player of the game, got to go with the bottom guy, Youngstown State. Stand up. Linebacker Alex Howard, 5 tackles, all of them solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and a pass deflection. Getting a sack against FBS opponent is a big deal. Youngstown State did cover, plus 45.5. And the under 56 hit. Number 7, Penn State, 63-7 win over Delaware. Now, this is how you actually beat a FCS opponent, not how Ohio State did, or Michigan for that matter. And this is the best FCS opponent out of those 3 schools. Or, well, Michigan played at FBS, never mind. But still, versus Ohio State, Delaware is a top 25 FCS school. Youngstown State is not. So I'm just saying. We beat a better school by more. Remember that when
Win is a win.
Remember that when Penn State plays Ohio State.
Whatever, man. Hey, win's a win.
Drew Aller was just spectacular once again. 22 of 26, 84.6%, 204 yards, touchdown, 5 carries, 27 yards, and a rushing score. I really like the kid behind him too, Bo Prebula. It's a fantastic name, and he's really good too. 3 of 5, 60%, 22 yards, touchdown, 8 carries, 46 yards, and a rushing score also. Delaware struggled mightily on offense all day except for one run, but Ryan O'Connor got the start, I think, 3 of 10, 30%, 21 yards. Zach Marker also played 3 of 7, 42.9%, 37 yards, and a pick. I mentioned on Friday that the Nittany Lions would run for 3 bills, did I not?
Yes, you did.
And I believe that is exactly what they did, if I remember correctly. Yes. 315 rushing yards. Look at that. Katron Allen was the main force in that. 19 carries, 103 yards, and a touchdown. I mentioned the one play that Delaware got was a long run from Marcus Yarns, the running back for the Blue Hens. 6 carries, 86 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble. It was a 66-yard touchdown run, I believe, for Yarns that ended up the only score on the day for the Blue Hens. Nicholas Singleton, once again, though, not great yardage-wise, 12 for 47, but hat trick of touchdowns and 1 catch for 18 yards. Keandre Lambert-Smith continues to be good for Penn State early on here, 6 catches, 74 yards. He had touchdown receptions from tight end Tyler Warren and wide receiver Omari Evans for Penn State as well. Defensively, I had to go with the bottom guy there, Penn State linebacker Dominic DeLuca. 1 pass deflection and a 26-yard pick 6. Penn State cover minus 44, over 55 by themselves. Number 10, Notre Dame, beaten up on NC State in Raleigh. And it was weird. This game had, I don't know the exact time of the delay, but it was pretty lengthy. I believe hour and a half, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was around 90 to 100 minutes.
Yeah. And that benefited the Irish.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. This game was very close before that stoppage. Just trying to see. Yeah, so it was 10-7 at that stoppage because they were – or yeah. Or it was 10-0, I guess, because it was like beginning of the second quarter pretty much when they stopped it. I think there was like 13-something to go in the second. But then, Notre Dame or NC State gets a touchdown. Notre Dame gets a touchdown before half. 17-7 at halftime. They did a shortened half. And then it's 17-10 with 7:27 to go in the third quarter after NC State kicked the field goal. But then it was all Irish after that. Sam Hartman, though, continues to be a force for Notre Dame. 15 of 24, 62.5%, 286 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a fumble. Brennan Armstrong for the Wolfpack, 22 of 47, 46.8%, 260, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks, 12 carries, 26 yards, and a touchdown. These are the kind of games you'll get with Brennan Armstrong. He's a bona fide gunslinger. And my guy, my favorite Irish player, I love Audric Estime. 14 carries, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 receptions, 22 yards. He had what was the first 80-yard touchdown run as the first touchdown of the game. So he can take the distance too. Notre Dame tight end Holden Stays leading the game in receiving, 4 catches, 115 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then there were also touchdown receptions from NC State's wide receivers Bradley Rosner and Dakari Collins, and the true freshman wide receiver Jaden Greathouse back in the touchdown column in this one, and tight end Davis Sherwood catching one as well from Hartman. Defensively, I'm going to go with the bottom guy, NC State defensive tackle Davin Van. 4 tackles, 3 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Doing a shout out Peyton Wilson, though. Peyton Wilson's one of my favorite linebackers out there. Unfortunately, he's a junior, so I can't scout him for the combine. But Notre Dame -7 covered easily, and over 49.5. How about the Utes? Number 12, Utah, holding on 20-13 over Baylor. They got 10 points in a matter of 106, I think it was, or something like that. I don't remember. But it was not pretty with Bryson Barnes at quarterback this game as opposed to the game against Florida. Utah scored the last 17 of the game. Yeah, they scored 10 points in a matter of 142. So there you go. But yeah, Bryson Barnes did not play well. 6 of 19, 31.6%, 71 yards, a pick, 8 carries for 21 yards. But luckily, they have another quarterback that saved the day. Nate Johnson, 6 of 7, 85.7%, 82 yards, 11 carries, 32 yards, a touchdown. The savior of Utah, while they just pray that Cam Rising can come back week 3 because they need him badly. I would expect, I haven't looked into it. They really don't need him to play week 3, playing Weber State, even though Weber State is a very good FCS school, top 25, top 10, I believe. And they might not have to play Cam Rising, but if he's 100% going into that game, I would like to see him out there just a little bit, get his feet wet before he has to go play UCLA in week 4.
What is Rising miss time for again? What's he out with?
A back injury, I believe. I can't remember. No, I think he's still rehabbing from his knee that he hurt in the Rose Bowl.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it. Because he had surgery in the offseason. I think it was a meniscus. Well, Baylor also without their quarterback, Blake Shapen. So Sawyer Robertson played the entire game. 12 of 28, 42.9%, 218 yards, 2 picks, 5 carries, 19 yards, and a touchdown. One of those picks was very costly, set up the Utah game-winning touchdown there. So yeah, it was not very good for Robertson on the day, and he didn't really play that well against Texas State after Shapen got injured either. So I don't know if Aranda's gonna try to look for someone else. I don't really know the timeline of Shapen. I believe he's out for quite a while. I think he had a meniscus tear. I don't remember though. Someone can look that up while I go through the rest of the stats. But running back Jaquindon Jackson had a whale of a game for the Utes. 19 carries, 129 yards, 1 reception, 11 yards. He was paramount down the stretch for the Utah comeback. His running mate Jalen Glover there scoring a rushing touchdown on the day. And Baylor wide receiver Hal Presley led the game in receiving, 4 catches, 72 yards. And defensively, I'm going to go with the middle guy there, Utah safety Cole Bishop. 4 tackles, 3 solos, 2 tackles for loss, and a pick. Excellent game for him. And he was the one that picked off Robertson to set up the game-winning touchdown drive. even though Utah almost blew it. They almost blew it.
Little bit of ref ball as well at the
They
end.
left them too much time, 17 seconds. And Jalen Glover tried not to score. He really did. And then Baylor shoved him in with 17 seconds to go. And Sawyer Robertson almost was a hero. But, hey, people say it all the time, man. The refs didn't call pass interference, so there was no pass interference.
It was a bad call. I think it was a bad one. I think Baylor should add another play in the end zone too. That's rough. I think.
I mean, it's still like. Well, I don't remember where they were at the. I think I don't. It wouldn't have been a 2-yard spot. I don't think they were that close that it would have been a 2-yard line spot. It still would have just been the general 15-yard. As long as I remember where they were at. Anyways, Utah -7 pushed under 46.5. Number 15, Kansas State Wildcats crushing Troy 42-13. Will Howard was pretty good, 21 of 32, 65.6%. 250, 3 touchdowns, a pick, 8 carries, 33 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 on the day for Howard. Troy played 2 quarterbacks. Gunnar Watson, the starter, 17 of 32, 53.1%, 167, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Goose Crowder, there you go, that's a good name. 5 of 6, 83.3%, 49 yards, and a fumble. Trojans running back Kamani Vidal led the game in rushing, 17 carries, 83 yards. I'm a big fan of Vidal there at Troy. Trayshawn Ward, the Florida State transfer, having a decent day rushing the ball, but he also caught a touchdown. Kansas State wide receivers Phillip Brooks and Jaden Jackson both catching a touchdown. Brooks leading the game in receiving, 7 for 94. Touchdown, also had a 2-yard rushing touchdown. And then the Trojans' lone touchdown was caught by wide receiver Chris Lewis. Defensively, got to go with Wildcats. Defensive end Khalid Duke, 3 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. K-State covered -15 over 50. How about Coach Prime? Number 22, Colorado, 36-14, romping over Nebraska. And I can't believe that the bookmakers allowed that line to be 2.5. I should have really hammered it. I just went in a little bit. But, man, there was just no way that Deion was, 1, going to lose his home opener, and 2, not win by more than 3. It didn't look like it early, but second half they got it done.
I think that's what impressed me the most about this is that it felt very clear that the coaching staff made significant adjustments at halftime that really led and made a difference in this game. And that's going to be huge for them going forward.
Yeah, so another decent showing by Shedeur Sanders. The total ended up being very good. But, again, first half, kind of just want to scrap that film up. But 31 of 42 for Shedeur, 73.8%, 393 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. But I think the biggest thing that I've seen with Shedeur through 2 games, no turnovers. He has 7 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That's the biggest thing I see.
The biggest thing I've noticed too is that he seems to be processing the offense really fast. And I don't know if that's just a product of the kind of offense they're running, but he seems really comfortable with what he's being asked to do. The ball is coming out super quick. So I mean, I've just been pretty impressed with him overall so far.
I do think it helps when you have elite receivers like Xavier Weaver, Jimmy Horn Jr., and Travis Hunter. But just saying, you can say that about Ohio State quarterbacks as well. Jeff Sims looking like his old Georgia Tech days, 9 of 15, 60%, 106 yards, 1 pick, 10 carries, 67 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 fumbles. I believe Jeff Sims has led the FBS in turnovers the last 2 years while at Georgia Tech, and he's off to a good start if he wants to retain that crown with this game here, 3 turnovers. So, yeah, I mean, he is what he is. Heinrich Harburg. There's another great name. Backup quarterbacks, man. They have all the names. 206, 33.3%, 13 yards, a touchdown, 2 carries, 17 yards for the Huskers back up there. Nebraska running back Gabe Irvin Jr. led the game in rushing, 17 carries, 74 yards, and a fumble. How about a guy I mentioned, Xavier Weaver for the Buffs, 10 catches, 170 yards, and a touchdown. Super hyped to watch tape on him a little bit later so I can write a little blurb up on him. Tarvarish Dawson also catching a touchdown from Shador and had an 8-yard rushing touchdown. Thomas Fidone II for Nebraska caught the touchdown from Harburg. And defensively, how about I don't know, the 2 guys near the bottom there, Nebraska linebacker Nick Henrich and defensive lineman Cameron Lenhart. 3 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. And that was probably the lone bright spot for Matt Rule was the defense. Early especially, they sacked Shedeur Sanders 8 times. So the pressure was getting there. Have to be happy with the defensive effort if they could just find a quarterback to help them offensively.
Yeah, I felt kind of bad for their defense because you could clearly tell that they did their best to hold up. It just eventually, they didn't have the horses to keep sustaining that success without any offensive firepower.
Yeah, like I mentioned, Colorado covered -2.5 easily, under 56.5. Number 25, Clemson. First win of the season for Dabo. 66-17 over Charleston Southern. The Buccaneers had it, man. They were right there. It was 21-17. And then Clemson scored the rest of the points. Cade Klubnik, it was all right. 28-37, 75.7%, 315, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick, 1 fumble. The pick was absolutely atrocious, though. He threw it right to the guy, and it was a pick 6. So, yeah, I mean, the thing is like this means nothing, right, for Clemson. Charleston Southern's win last week was a 13-10 win over Division II North Greenville. I believe it's North Greenville. So the fact that they were even in this game says a lot about Clemson.
Yeah, they got a lot of soul searching to do in that program, I think. It just has not looked good.
Yeah, it just seems like they've lost their step or 5 in all facets of the game, offensively, defensively, coaching, scouting, development, recruiting. It seems like they've taken a massive step backwards since Trevor Lawrence left. I mean, it feels like with Dabo, like when he doesn't have his quarterback, like a Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence, he doesn't know what to do. Like he needs that quarterback. And Clemson just hasn't had one since. And Clemson's suffering because of it. I mean, Clemson desperately needs that guy, to be the quarterback. And, I mean, their QB did okay, but in my opinion, he's just not enough. He's not a game changer. He's not a top of the first round talent. And that's what Clemson needs if they want that, legitimacy again.
Yeah, I will say though, we do have to remember this is Club Nick's first full season starting.
Yeah.
This is only his third game as a starter. Now it's his. I don't know. I think he's played 7 or 8 games total. Last year he played a couple, but still very young. He's a sophomore, but learning on the fly. So we'll see. Their other 2 quarterbacks were perfect. Hunter Helms, 5 of 5, 48 yards. Paul Tyson, 3 of 3, 42 yards and a touchdown. Charleston Southern quarterback Tony Bartolo, 6 of 14, 42.9%, 61 yards and a pick. The one thing that Clemson has been doing well, though, on offense is running the ball. Will Shipley is excellent. 9 carries, 73 yards, 3 receptions, 22 yards. Phil Maffa, 9 for 59 on the ground, 2 touchdowns, and caught 1 for 1 yard. Jay Haynes also with a rushing touchdown and a 6-yard receiving touchdown for the Tigers there. Charleston Southern running back J.D. Moore got 1 in on the ground also. Clemson wide receivers, Bo Collins, he led the game in receiving, 7 receptions, 137 yards, a touchdown. Antonio Williams, 2 touchdowns for him. And then tight end Josh Sapp had a 25-yard touchdown reception as well. Defensively, 2 guys here. There were 2 pick sixes in the game. Charleston Southern corner Leon Thomas, 2 tackles, both solos, 1 pass deflection, 67-yard pick six. And then Clemson linebacker Wade Woodaz, 2 tackles, 1 pick, and a 35-yard pick six there. Charleston Southern, I should say, plus 50.5. They covered by a little bit. And the over 54.5, Clemson by themselves. Number 2, Michigan, 35-7 win over UNLV. J.J. McCarthy, ultra efficient once again. 22 of 25, 88%, 278 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 carries, 38 yards. You also had Michigan quarterbacks Jaden Denegal come in, complete his only ball for 35 yards. And Davis Warren 0 for 2 with a pick. Doug Brumfeld for the Rebels, UNLV, 10 of 19, 52.6%, 100 yards. Jaden Mayava, 5 of 7, 71.4%, 68 yards. Blake Corum, once again, big day for the Wolverines running back, 15 carries, 80 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 receptions, 23 yards. UNLV's running back Jordan Young-Humphrey, he had the Rebels' only touchdown on the day. Big day for Roman Wilson. He's been impressive first 2 games for the Wolverines. 4 catches, 82 yards, 2 touchdowns. And defensively, bottom guy there, Michigan defensive lineman Kenneth Grant is my defensive player of the game. 4 tackles, 2 solos, 1.5 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss, and a pass deflection.
Yeah, I know there are a lot of draft nicks that have been super impressed with what J.J. McCarthy's been able to do so far this season. Now we got to see it against, bigger competition, not named Ohio State, because we know he can play pretty well against them. But yeah, I mean, so far, you couldn't have asked for a better start to the season from him. He looks really, really good.
Yeah. Looks good, except Michigan's not covering. UNLV cover plus 38. Under 57.5. Number 20, Ole Miss, 37-20 over number 24, Tulane.
We all missed this one.
They took it personally.
They saw the podcast and went, screw these guys. Not even a lone wolf for this one, and they just came out with purpose.
Well, to our demise, we did not know Michael Pratt was not playing. Technically, it was a game time decision. I didn't even know he was hurt. So that kind of puts an asterisk on our picks. But anyways, Tulane did play pretty well, especially first half. They had the lead going into halftime. I was feeling fantastic and very annoyed at the fumble return for a touchdown at the end that I didn't even register in my mind. And Tulane didn't score any more points after that to push my teased plus 17, which meant my teaser lost because ties are losses in teasers.
Ouch.
Which was fantastic.
Poor you.
Jackson Dart for Ole Miss, though, 17 of 27, 63%, 267, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 14 carries, 41 yards. Kai Horton, I thought played a lot better than the stats look. 15 of 37, 40.5%, 231 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 1 fumble. He also got battered, though, in the second half. The Ole Miss pass rush was really revving up, especially once they got down a little bit and got into the passing situations where they could just tee off. So it's a tough game for Kai Horton. Hopefully Michael Pratt can come back next week and get Tulane back on the ship. Tulane running back Mekhi Hughes, though, really good game. 23 carries, 92 yards, a touchdown, 1 catch for 6 yards. Ole Miss running back Quinshon Judkins also with a rushing touchdown, even though he was bottled up for most of the day. Tulane defense doing a good job on him. And then Ole Miss wide receiver Dayton Wade led the game in receiving, 7 for 106. Touchdown receptions coming from Tulane's wide receiver Jaquan Jackson and Ole Miss wide receiver Trey Harris, the Louisiana Tech transfer, and tight end Michael Trigg. Defensively, got to go with the defensive touchdown there. Ole Miss defensive end Jared Ivey, 3 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 26-yard fumble return for a touchdown. The Rebels covered -8 under 64. How about the Canes? Miami's back. 48-33 over number 23 Texas A&M. Tyler Van Dyke, this is the best I think I've ever seen him play. 21 of 30, 70%, 374, 5 touchdowns, no turnovers.
Yeah, this is the guy we hoped we were getting last year that never showed up.
Yeah, I don't know what's changed, but it seems to be working through 2 games. So I was disappointed by Connor Wegman. He didn't play terrible, though. 31 of 53, 58.5%, 336, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 5 carries, 29 yards, and a touchdown. The 2 picks were the difference in the game, as you see the 15-point loss there. A&M running back Amari Daniels led the game in rushing, 18 carries, 62 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble, 4 receptions for 20 yards. You had A&M wide receiver Evan Stewart leading the game in receiving, 11 catches, 142 yards. But Xavier Restrepo also impressed me for the U, 6 for 126 through the air. And then wide receiver Jacoby George for Miami also, big day, 5 catches, 94 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a fumble. And then he also had touchdown receptions for the Canes from wide receiver Colby Young and Isaiah Horton, and A&M wide receiver Noah Thomas and running back Ernest Crownover. Defensively, I'm going to go with Miami defensive back Jaden Davis, 8 tackles, 6 solos, 2 tackles for loss, and a pass deflection. And then also want to mention Miami wide receiver Brashard Smith, 98-yard kick return touchdown that really broke it open for the Canes, at taking that one back to open the second half. I believe that was the second half opener. Miami +3 wins outright, over 50.5 easily. 81 in that game. UTSA, the Roadrunners, taking out Jimmy's Texas State Bobcats, 20-13.
My boys.
Well, I had the over in this game, and it did not go very well. Frank Harris. This is Frank Harris. This is how I thought Frank Harris would play. Threw 3 picks last week against Houston, but rebounding in this game, 26 of 37, 70.3%, 214, 1 touchdown, 12 carries, 15 yards. Texas State quarterback TJ Finley did not play like he did against Baylor last week, though. 16 of 30, 53.3%, 211 yards. The rushing was not there. He didn't run a lot like he did in Waco last weekend. UTSA running back Kevorian Barnes, 100-yard day on the ground for him. 26 carries, 103 yards, 1 fumble, 3 catches, 16 yards. That has been the one constant with UTSA through 2 games. Kevorian Barnes has been fantastic for the Roadrunners. UTSA running back Rocco Griffin, the Vanderbilt transfer, he got one in on the ground, as did Bobcats running back Jamil Jeter. Texas State wide receiver Drew Donnelly led the game in receiving, 5 catches, 79 yards. And then you had a 20-yard touchdown reception from UTSA wide receiver Willie McCoy. Defensively, how about the day for UTSA linebacker Trey Moore? 7 tackles, 5 solos, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. Texas State did cover, though. I knew I should have went in on the Bobcats to cover. Teams are pretty close, I think, anyways. Plus 13.5 for the Bobcats. Under 66.5. See, and I had 63.5, and it still didn't matter. How about the Huskies? Number 8, Washington, 43-10 over Tulsa. Michael Penix doing it again. 28 of 38, 73.7%, 409 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 2 carries, 11 yards. Washington also putting in Dylan Morris late, completed both of his balls for 45 yards. Tulsa, Roman Fuller, I believe, is their starter. 12 of 18, 66.7%, 85 yards, a touchdown. And then Cardell Williams came in later, 6 of 14, 42.9%, 65 yards, and a pick. So the Washington Pac-12 championship talk is looking pretty solid right now with the 2 massive games from Penix.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we were wondering if last year was a little bit of a fluke from Penix. He has hit the ground running, man. I mean, he looks just as good, if not better. It's kind of crazy.
They're going to score about, do they play USC? I don't know. I was going to say, they play USC, they're going to score about 1,000 in that game. They do. November 4th in LA. So make sure you watch that one. Rushing wise, Golden Hurricanes running back Jordan Ford led the game in rushing, 15 carries, 67 yards, 2 catches, 9 yards. You had a rushing touchdown from the Arizona State transfer, Huskies running back Daniel Ngata. And then a whole bunch of receiving stats. Washington wide receivers Jalen McMillan and Rome Odunze, both 100-yard performances. McMillan led the game in receiving, though, 8 for 120, a touchdown and a fumble. Odunze, 7 for 107, a touchdown and a 14-yard rushing touchdown as well. Washington wide receiver Jalen Polk also had a rushing touchdown, 27-yarder. Washington wide receiver Jeremy Bernard catching a touchdown from Penix as well. And then Tulsa tight end Luke McGarry caught the lone touchdown for the Golden Hurricanes. Defensively, bottom guy is where I'm going. Washington corner Jabbar Muhammad, 4 tackles, all of them solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 pass deflection. And I know y'all love me saying weird names, so why not pronounce the top guy's name there defensively for Washington linebacker Edefwan Olafoshio. There you go. The Huskies, Tulsa cover plus 34. I hate that I have to mark that down on the FAA Bets betting page as a loss. Freaking 1-point loss, man. Plus 34 for the Golden Hurricanes there, under 66.5. Volunteers, number 9, Tennessee, 30-13. Squeaker over Austin P. The Govs putting up a fight in Knoxville. This is a intrastate battle there. Clarksville, Tennessee for Austin P. I've been there. Pretty solid campus. But Mike DeLello leading the game in passing, 29 of 39, 74.4%, 260, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 21 carries, 36 yards. Joe Milton, a decent day. I mean, again, it looks bad for Tennessee, though, only beating them by 17. 21 of 33, 63.6%, 228, 2 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. Volunteers, running back Jalen Wright, another good day for him. 13 carries, 118 yards. 3 receptions, 18 yards. And let's see, Austin P. wide receiver Trey Goodman leading the game in receiving, 3 catches, 70 yards, a touchdown. Then you had receiving touchdowns for Tennessee by wide receiver Ramel Keaton and tight end McAllen Castles. I'm guessing no one knows where McAllen Castles transferred in from.
Texas State?
I've heard that name. I don't know where from, but I swear I've heard that name.
UC Davis. Yeah. How about the day for Tennessee linebacker Aaron Beasley? 9 tackles, 8 solos, 2 sacks, 5 tackles for loss. Austin P. plus 48. They cover easily. Under 65.5. This was. I thought this game was going to go like this, and it exceeded my expectations. Number 17, North Carolina, 40-34 win over App State in double overtime. The Mountaineers, man, they get scrappy on the road.
I don't know why any of these big name programs sign up for them on a non-conference schedule, man. You're just asking for trouble.
Well, not just that it's App State, but I knew this game was going to be close because it's an interstate rivalry in North Carolina. So Joey Aguilar for the Mountaineers, 22 of 43, 51.2%, 275, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 6 carries, 42 yards. Drake May, I mean, he was good, like 21 of 30, 70%, 208. No touchdowns, though, through the air. 11 carries, 57 yards, touchdown. Bigger ground day for him. But it's okay. He didn't need to be good because they have a guy named Omarion Hampton, who is, by the way, a sophomore. 26 carries, 234 yards. That is 9 per clip. 3 touchdowns. Also caught 1 ball for 10 yards. That's how you do it. That's a pretty solid day. Running back Nate Noel. I mean, it sucks that Hampton had such a good day because Nate Noel also had a really good day. 26 carries as well, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 catch for 9 yards. And UNC's running back Caleb Hood also scoring a rushing touchdown. App State wide receiver Deshaun Davis led the game in receiving, 7 catches, 117 yards, and a touchdown. And also App State tight end Eli Wilson catching the other touchdown from Aguilar. Defensively, going to go with UNC defensive back Marcus Allen, 6 tackles, 4 solos, 3 pass deflections. But this is how App State gets recruits, man. Play well against big schools and beat them every 4 years. App State plus 18 covers easily, over 58-74 in that game. Number 18, Oklahoma. The Sooners, man. I mean,
this was closer for longer than it should have been.
This weekend was weird all over though. The Tennessee one was close. The Utah game, and then the NFL also was weird, which we'll talk about. But Yeah, Oklahoma, this was not very good. Preston Stone for SMU, 26 of 45, 57.8%, 250, one touchdown, one pick. Dylan Gabriel, 19 of 27, 70.4%, 176 yards, four touchdowns, 8 carries, 20 yards. I mean, it's hard to fault Dylan Gabriel because, like, it's a pretty decent stat line other than the small amount of yards. But, yeah. Oklahoma's running back Tawee Walker, 21 carries, 117 yards, 3 catches, 25 yards. He's been good. I gotta look more up on him because he's been really good the first 2 games for the Sooners. Oklahoma running back Marcus Major catching a touchdown in this one. OU wide receiver Andrew Anthony, the Michigan transfer, leading the game in receiving, 7 for 76, a touchdown. And then you also had touchdown receptions from Oklahoma's wide receiver Jaleel Farouk and tight end Blake Smith. And then SMU threw their only touchdown on the day to an offensive lineman, Stone Eby, catching a 2-yard touchdown. Defensive player of the game, top guy, Oklahoma linebacker Danny Stutzman, 17 tackles, 5 of them solos, 1 sack, 2.5 tackles for loss. Sooners covered -16 by 1. And the under 69. Jimmy, we had the over on that one, right?
I think so, if I remember correctly. But we didn't get it.
A little close. It was close. It was...
Very.
Blue Devils, number 21, Duke, 42-7 over Lafayette. Go Leopards, as we learned what their mascot was on Friday. Riley Leonard, it's pretty good. 100% completion, 12 of 12, 136 yards, touchdown, 4 carries, 13 yards. I feel like Elko took him out really early because to throw only 12 times. Yeah. And then Henry Bellin IV came in. He was also perfect, 8 of 8, 118 yards, touchdown, 1 rushing touchdown. So the Duke quarterbacks on the day, if you're wondering, 20 of 20 passing for 254 yards, 2 touchdowns. And they also, I don't know what Bellin's rushing yards were. I think he probably had minus if he got sacked a little bit, but they also had 1 rushing touchdown. So pretty good combined day for the Duke quarterbacks. Dean Denobile for Lafayette, 9 of 17, 52.9%, 87 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 6 carries, 28 yards. Duke running back Jordan Waters, 100-yard day for him, 11 carries, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a fumble. His running mate Jaquez Moore, or Quez as they call him, touchdown on the ground for him. Duke wide receiver Jordan Moore leading the game in receiving, 4 catches, 84 yards, a touchdown. Duke wide receiver Jalen Calhoun and also catching a touchdown, as did Lafayette wide receiver Chris Coraja. Defensive player of the game is Duke's nose tackle Brandon Johnson, 4 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. Lafayette covered plus 42.5, over under 49 pushed. Yeah, I mean, I think there was one guy that lone wolfed this game, and I don't see him sitting anywhere else other than right here in this chair. So, yeah, I tried to tell y'all that Texas was gonna get it done. Number 11, Texas, 34-24 over number 3, Alabama. Quinn Ewers was just fantastic, dude.
He was. That was an awesome game by him.
24 of 38, 63.2%, 349, 3 touchdowns, 3 carries, 11 yards. And again, no turnovers. That's how you win the game. Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe did not do that. 14 of 27, 51.9%, 255, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 15 carries, 44 yards. And that's what I was saying going into this game. the experience of Ewers versus Milroe, it matters in games like this. And Sark called a masterful game with Ewers at the helm. So I was very happy to watch Texas beat Alabama.
So was many people, including myself, even though I picked Bama.
Texas running back Jonathan Brooks led the game in rushing, 14 carries, 57 yards, a touchdown, 1 reception for 4 yards. Texas tight end Jatavian Sanders leading the game in receiving, 5 for 114. You had receiving touchdowns, 2 of them from Georgia transfer wide receiver Adonai Mitchell and wide receiver Xavier Worthy for the Longhorns. And for the Crimson Tide, catching touchdowns from Milroe were wide receiver Jermaine Burton and tight end Amari Niblack. Defensively, I'm going to go with Texas linebacker Anthony Hill Jr., the true freshman. 6 tackles, 4 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Texas +7 wins outright over 53.
Had to hit it up.
Number 13, Oregon. This was a closer one than I thought it was going to be. 38-30 over Texas Tech. Weird stuff happens at night in Lubbock. That's what I've been told, and that's what happened here. Bo Nix was really solid down the stretch, bringing the Ducks back. 32 of 44, 72.7%, 359, 2 touchdowns, 9 carries, 46 yards. Tyler Shuff, the former Oregon quarterback, played well until about the last 4 minutes.
Played well until it mattered. And then the clutch just got to him.
24 of 38, which is usually the opposite. Usually Bo Nix is the guy that falters in the clutch situations.
Hey, maybe Bo's figuring it out.
24 of 38, 63.2% for Shuff. 282, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks, 23 carries, 101 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble, 4 total turnovers for Shuff. That is how you lose a ball game. But his legs, I was very surprised about his legs in this one. He had a great rushing day. Texas Tech running back Taj Brooks led the game in rushing outside of Shuff, 6 for 66, 4 catches, 18 yards. Bucky Irving for the Ducks getting one in on the ground. Oregon wide receiver Troy Franklin leading the game in receiving, 6 for 103 and a touchdown. You also had receiving touchdowns from Red Raiders wide receiver Jerran Brantley, tight end Mason Tharp, and wide receiver Miles Price. And the other Bo Nix touchdown went to wide receiver Tez Johnson. Defensively, I got to go with the guy that got Oregon to cover this game for me. It was linebacker Jeffrey Bassa, 9 tackles, 8 solos, 1 tackle for loss, and a 45-yard pick 6 that sealed the miraculous cover that it was, because it was not going to be a cover.
Until it was.
Yeah. It was a 1-point game, and then, Bassa takes to the house. Oregon, -4.5 covered, under 70 by a couple. Coastal Carolina, 30-16 over Jacksonville State, getting their first win of the season. Grayson McCall, that's what I said going into this one. He's the better quarterback, so that's why I went with the Chants. 21 of 29, 72.4%, 268, a touchdown. Good day for him. Zion Webb for the Gamecocks, 9 of 18, 50%, 150 yards, 11 carries, 21 yards. Logan Smothers played a lot better than Webb in this one, 7 of 10, 70%, 57 yards, 6 carries, 54 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble. Jacksonville State running back Malik Jackson led the game in rushing, 18 carries, 73 yards. Coastal wide running back Braden Bennett, he had a rushing touchdown. Coastal Carolina wide receiver Jared Brown, big day for him. 7 receptions, 93 yards, a touchdown. And then he took a carry to the house, 77-yard rushing touchdown for him. And a lot of defensive stats here. I'm going to go with probably the bottom guy. Coastal defensive lineman Michael Mason, 8 tackles, 4 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. Coastal covered minus 13.5 by the hook and under 61. Number 14, LSU kicked the absolute piss out of Grambling.
Took a while, though.
72-10. And this is what I thought. This is what we thought was going to happen, though. Like they had a lot of frustration from the Florida State game, and unfortunately, Grambling had to take it.
Yeah, it was close for a while. I remember it was like 14-10 at one point. Like Grambling was there, kind of sticking around, and then I think like halfway through the second quarter, LSU was like, "Wait a minute, this is Grambling. We're getting the logos mixed up. This isn't Georgia." So then they were like, "Oh yeah, we can beat the crap out of them," and then they proceeded to.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels was really solid. 18-24, 75%, 269, 5 passing touchdowns, 5 carries for 29 yards. You had Garrett Nussmeier come in 4 of 6, 66.7%, 48 yards, a rushing touchdown. And then Ricky Collins completed his 2 passes for 3 yards, 3 carries for 19 yards. Grambling started Miles Crawley at quarterback, 14-25, 56%, 148 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. And then Julian Calvez came in 1 of 5, 20% for 9 yards. LSU running back Logan Diggs, 100-yard day. He was non-existent in the Florida State game. I don't know what was happening with him, that he didn't really play a lot, but played a lot in this one. 15 carries, 115 yards, a touchdown, 1 reception for 18 yards. How about Grambling, though? Running back Chance Williams, also 100-yard day, 7 for 106 on the ground. You had LSU running backs Caleb Johnson and Noah Kane. Caleb Jackson. Caleb Johnson plays for Iowa. Caleb Jackson, though, 2 rushing touchdowns. Noah Kane, 1 rushing touchdown for him. LSU wide receiver Malik Neighbors led the game in receiving, 5 for 87 and a touchdown. You had Brian Thomas Jr. catching 2 scores from Daniels. Kyron Lacey catching 1, as did Chris Hilton Jr. And then Grambling wide receiver J.R. Waters caught their lone touchdown on the day. Defensively, there wasn't much, but I'm going to go LSU corner Zy Alexander, 6 tackles, 5 solos, 2 pass deflections. LSU covered minus 56.5, over 61.5 by themselves.
Here's my lone wolf.
I hate Wisconsin so much.
Woo! I love Wisconsin right now.
Washington State 31-22 over number 19 Wisconsin. Good. It was so annoying to watch.
You should have listened to me. I know.
Tanner Mordecai, 25 of 40, 62.5%, 278, a touchdown, 10 carries, 21 yards, 2 fumbles. Like, bro.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was bad. Cam Ward for the Cougs, 20 of 32, 62.5%, 212, 2 touchdowns, 17 carries, 43 yards. Pretty good day for Ward. Wisconsin did not even have close to the rushing performance that they did against Buffalo last week. Ches Malusi, though, did lead the game in rushing, 12 carries, 49 yards, 1 touchdown, and a fumble. Former Wisconsin running back Nakia Watson also scoring a touchdown for the Cougs in this one. Wisconsin wide receiver Will Pauling led the game in receiving, 5 for 78, and then touchdown receptions coming from Washington State's wide receivers Lincoln Victor and Kyle Williams, the UNLV transfer, and Wisconsin's wide receiver Skylar Bell. Defensively, again, I got to go with the defensive touchdown guy. Washington State defensive end Brennan Jackson, 5 tackles, 1 solo, 2 fumble recoveries. One of those was a 2-yard return for a touchdown.
Listen, I'm feeling good about this because I need Wisconsin to lose 1 more before the Ohio State game, because I am banking on Wisconsin falling out of contention and tickets just plummeting. So that's what I'm hoping for. Tickets are still like $180, but if they lose another one, they could drop a little bit.
Well, no, because I have Wisconsin going to the Big Ten championship game.
It's not happening. No.
Washington State +5 wins outright, under 58. Number 4, Florida State, 66-13 over Southern Miss. Jordan Travis was pretty solid. The completion percentage leaves me wanting more, but 15 to 29, 51.7%, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 carries for 20 yards. Tate Rodemaker came in after that, completed all 3 of his passes for 73 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good average, completing 2 of your 3 passes for touchdowns. Southern Miss's quarterback, Billy Wiles, 11 of 34, 32.4%, 154 yards and a pick. Southern Miss running back Rodriguez Clark, the Memphis transfer, leading the way in rushing, 15 carries, 86 yards, a touchdown. Trey Benson for the Seminoles, big day for him, 3 rushing touchdowns. FSU's running back Keziah Holmes also with the rushing score. Florida State wide receiver Keon Coleman led the game in receiving, 3 receptions, 48 yards, a touchdown. You also had receiving touchdowns coming from FSU's tight end Marqueston Douglas, wide receiver Darian Williamson, and wide receiver Vandrevius Jacobs. There you go. That's a good name. Defensively, got to go with the bottom guy. I don't know why this game, ESPN needs to fix their stuff because there's some games. I think there was one last week too that did this on me. It's just they don't have like all the stats. They have like the guys that had sacks, which have like 1 tackle, 1 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. That's all they had. Like they didn't have the rest of the guys. But my defensive player of the game, because of that, is defensive back Jarian Jones for Florida State, 30-yard pick 6. FSU minus 31 covered easily, over 54 by themselves. Number 16, Oregon State, 55-7 over UC Davis. DJU was efficient, didn't play a lot, but 8 of 13, 61.5%, 107 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 carries, 11 yards, a rushing score. The freshman Aiden Childs also was good. 9 of 13, 69.2%, 74 yards, a touchdown, 4 carries, 42 yards, a rushing touchdown also. UCD played 3 quarterbacks. Miles Hastings, the starter, 12 of 22, 54.5%, 51 yards, a pick, and a fumble. Grant Harper then came in 4 of 7, 57.1%, 56 yards, a touchdown. And then Lan Larison, completing his only pass for 12 yards, also had 15 carries for 55 yards. Oregon State running back Damian Martinez once again was really good. 7 carries, 104 yards, a touchdown. Oregon State wide receiver Silas Bolden led the game in receiving, 4 catches, 65 yards, a touchdown, and he had a 65-yard punt return touchdown. And then other receiving touchdowns going to UC Davis wide receiver CJ Hutton and Beavers wide receiver Arwea Munyagi Jr. and tight end Riley Sharp. the hard name, and then you have Riley Sharp. My defensive player of the game, Oregon State defensive lineman Isaac Hodgins, 3 tackles, all of them solos, 1 sack, 3 tackles for loss. The Beavers covered minus 24, over 57. Last college game here, number 6 USC just crushing Stanford 56-10. This was 49-0 at halftime, by the way. Because of one Mr. Williams. This kid's crazy, man. 19 of 21, 90.5% completion, 281 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a 21-yard rushing score as well. I mean, can you really have like as much of a first 3 games, as great of a first 3 games after a Heisman season and looking for a second straight Heisman as Caleb Williams? I mean, I don't think so.
Future Viking Caleb Williams, that is.
You got to get up the draft board first, bud.
Oh, don't worry. Don't worry. We're tanking.
Nope. Miller Moss for the Trojans also playing pretty well. 11 of 15, 73.3%, 112 yards, and a 15-yard rushing score. Stanford quarterback Ashton Daniels struggled a lot in this one, unlike he did against Hawaii. 2 of 7, 28.6%, 19 yards, 1 pick. Justin Lamson came in then 8 of 18, 44.4%, 121 yards, 16 carries, 36 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble. USC running back Marshawn Lloyd led the game in rushing, 9 carries, 77 yards, a touchdown for the South Carolina transfer. USC running back Austin Jones also having a rushing touchdown here. USC wide receiver Brendan Rice leading the game in receiving, caught his only ball for a 75-yard touchdown. That's how you do it. The Arizona transfer Dorian Singer catching a touchdown from Williams. The true freshman Zachariah Branch is just crazy. He's the first true freshman since 2005 to catch a touchdown and have a punt and kick return touchdown in the same season, and he's done it in 3 games. 75-yard punt return touchdown in this game to go along with 4 catches for 30 yards. And then USC tight end Lake McCree also catching a touchdown. Defensive player of the game is USC defensive end Solomon Byrd, 3 tackles, all of them solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. USC covered minus 28.5, under 70.5.
I got to get going, but I want to give some parting words since I'm missing football for my Vikings. Our season's over, but if we beat the Eagles, we're back in it. We're going to go win the Super Bowl. Oh. I'm the most knee-jerk fan ever, so that's all I got to say. Praying for Aaron Rodgers. I hope you get your the good recovery you need. Sorry that your Jets season has ended. I don't think he's retiring. I think he'll stick around. And my boys in Brown, they got me this week for my lone wolf. Go Browns, baby. But hey, if I'm a Bengals fan, I'm not worrying. Just a bad game. Joe Burrow's coming off injury. You're good. Those are my parting thoughts. Good luck, Rusty. Have a good rest of the show.
Thanks, man.
Have a good one.
FCS game of the week. This one was a really good one, even though it's only 36 total points. Number 1, South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits at home, 2016 over. Number 3, Montana State. Mark Gronowski, really good, 13 of 22, 59.1%, 184 yards, 2 touchdowns, 10 carries, 26 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble. Sean Chambers played super poorly for the Bobcats, 3 of 9, 33.3%, 53 yards a pick, until they started running him a lot, which is where he was most effective, 20 carries, 90 yards, a touchdown. Tommy Mellott then came in the second half, a lot better passing-wise than Chambers, 6 of 6, 34 yards, 11 carries, 46 yards, can also run touchdown Tommy as well. South Dakota State running back Isaiah Davis led the game in rushing outside of Chambers, 12 carries, 66 yards, 2 catches for 22 yards. And then South Dakota State wide receiver Griffin Wild led the game in receiving, 2 catches, 49 yards, a touchdown. Also, tight end Zach Hines catching a score from Gronowski. And we don't have tackle statistics for FCS games, so my defensive player of the game goes to South Dakota State safety Cale Reeder with the 1 interception. Don't know the spreads for the FCS either. So let's get in the NFL slate. Week 1 NFL. We don't got to talk about this game, though, if we don't want to. Yeah, it was not a very good start for the Pittsburgh Steelers season, especially with some of the injuries that happened. But 49ers looked fantastic, 30-7 over Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett, 31 of 46, 67.4%, 232, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. With Pickett, for 1, the offensive line did not protect him at all, really. And for 2, even when they did, decision-making was not that great. Accuracy was not there either. So definitely want to see an uptick when we play Cleveland on Monday. Quarterback Brock Purdy for San Fran, he was really solid, 19 of 29, 65.5%, 220, 2 touchdowns, 3 carries, 20 yards, and a fumble. But McCaffrey was the offense in this one. Christian McCaffrey was just stellar. 22 carries, 152 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 receptions, 17 yards on 5 targets. 49ers wide receiver Brandon Ayuk led the game in receiving. Big day, 8 catches, 129 yards, 2 touchdowns on 8 targets. And then Steelers tight end Pat Freiermuth also catching a score in this one, 3-yard touchdown reception. Defensively, I mean, both guys at the bottom there, I'm going to mention, my God, TJ Watt, man, this is why I believe Jimmy and I both had him for Defensive Player of the Year. Yes, Jimmy and I. Logan had Myles Garrett. But this is why we had him as Defensive Player of the Year, because he can do stuff like this. 5 tackles, all of them solos, 3 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection, 5 QB hits for Watt on the day. And defensive end Drake Jackson, the former second-round pick for San Fran, also excellent day. 3 tackles, all of them solos, 3 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 3 QB hits for him. 49ers -1. They covered easily, under 41.5. NFC South showdown, Falcons 24-10 over the Panthers. Bryce Young's first career start. I thought he looked really good. Besides the 2 picks, they were telegraphed, unfortunately, right to Jesse Bates both times. But other than that, I thought the accuracy was there. I was very shocked. The offensive line played very well, and I'm super excited to see Bryce Young on primetime Monday. But 20 of 38 for Young, 52.6%, 146 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 3 carries, 17 yards. Desmond Ridder, ultra efficient, 15 of 18, 83.3%, 115 yards, a touchdown. Tyler Algier was the surprise of the game here, led the Falcons in carries and rushing yards, 15 carries, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 receptions, 19 yards. They did end up having right around the same touch amounts, though, with Algier and Robinson, so we'll see how that goes moving forward. I know Algier is a big waiver wire candidate this week, so we'll see how that works out. But was impressed by Miles Sanders, other than the fumble, but 22 total touches for just under 100 yards was pretty solid for Miles Sanders' debut in Carolina. And then, like I said, Bijan caught his first touchdown in the NFL in his first game. Falcons tight end Kyle Pitts led the game in receiving, 2 catches, 44 yards on 3 targets. Tight end Hayden Hurst for the Panthers caught Bryce Young's touchdown for their loans touch score of the day. Defensively, there's a lot of defensive stats in this game. I'm going to go with the top guy, though. Falcons safety Jesse Bates III was excellent. 10 tackles, 5 solos, 2 pass deflections, 2 picks. Really solid day for the Bengals' most expensive free agent. Or for the Falcons' most expensive free agent, I should say, was a Bengal. Falcons, -3.5. They covered under 40.5. Ravens, 25-9 over the Texans. CJ Stroud's first start was not terrible. 28 of 44, 63.6%, 242, 4 carries, 20 yards, and a fumble. But that's what we saw all preseason, though, with CJ Stroud running the offense. I mean, they haven't been able to score. Like, they've been, when they get down there, it's field goals. They're trading field goals for touchdowns, which is not how you win. So the Texans, if they're going to do anything this season, have to figure out how to call the game better on offense when they get down in the red area or near it. Lamar Jackson for Baltimore, 17 of 22, 77.3%, 169, 1 pick, 6 carries, 38 yards, and a fumble. I'll continue to say it. Ultra efficient passing, but he's not a passer. Struggled. No touchdown passes in this game. 2 turnovers for him, and under 170 yards passing. Not worth the money that he received. Just saying. And I will continue to say that. Texans running back Damian Pierce, 11 carries, 38 yards, 2 receptions for 9 yards. Led the game in rushing, or tied with Jackson there. Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins, touchdown on the day before injury. Unfortunately, we'll talk about that. His running mate there, Justice Hill, 2 touchdowns on the day for him. Texans wide receiver Nico Collins led the game in receiving, 6 catches, 80 yards on 11 targets. Also, double-digit targets for his fellow wide receiver Robert Woods, 10 targets on the day for him. Zay Flowers, rookie first-rounder for Baltimore, also with 10 targets in his debut, 9 for 78 there. Defensively, a bunch of players qualified for the defensive player stats here. I think I'm gonna go though with the rookie Texans defensive end Will Anderson Jr. 6 tackles, 4 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 2 QB hits on Jackson there, and Logan's defensive rookie of the year looking very good. Week 1. Ravens minus 9.5. They covered under 43.5. Yes, Jimmy's Browns did win handily, 24-3 over the Bengals. Bengals looked like absolute shit. I mean, it was just so bad. Deshaun Watson for Cleveland fit 16-29, 55.2%, 154 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 5 carries, 45 yards, a rushing score as well. But Joe Burrow, I mean, okay, what are we paying you $275 million for? To throw for under 100 yards in career low? Great. 14-31, 45.2%, 82 yards. That's it. That's the story for Joe Burrow. Browns running back Nick Chubb led the game in rushing, 18 carries, 106 yards, 4 receptions, 21 yards. Browns wide receiver Elijah Moore led the game in receiving, 3 catches, 43 yards on 7 targets. Tight end Harrison Bryant catching Watson's lone touchdown on the day on his 2 targets. Defensively, a lot of guys had good stats in this one. I'm going to go with the bottom guy, though. Browns defensive end Myles Garrett, 2 tackles, both of them solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 4 hits on Burrow. So Logan's defensive player of the year candidate looking good. The Browns was a pick'em game, so they covered that under 46.5. The Bucks, Jimmy, 20-17 over the Vikings. This one pissed me off as well. I was like, there's no chance the Vikings don't cover 6 by 6.5 against the Bucks. And I guess Madden was right for 1 week anyways, having the Bucks win the Super Bowl, so or get to the Super Bowl, whatever it was. Kirk Cousins. Big days. Bigger turnovers, though. 33 of 44, 75%, 344, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 2 fumbles. That was the issue. The Vikings turned the ball over all day. So yeah. Baker, though, did not turn the ball over, surprisingly. Baker Mayfield, 21 of 34, 61.8%, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns, 8 carries, 11 yards. Bucks running back Rashad White led the game in rushing, 17 carries, 39 yards. Neither team could really run the ball in this game. 2 catches for 10 yards for White. Alexander Mattison, the new starter in Minnesota, caught a touchdown in this game. And the biggest thing for the Vikings is that Justin Jefferson had himself a whale of a game, and you still lose. 9 catches, 150 yards on 12 targets for JJ, and they still lose by 3. Big catalyst for the Bucks winning, though, was Mike Evans. 6 catches, 66 yards, touchdown on 10 targets. His teammate, 6th-round wide receiver Trey Palmer, my guy out of Nebraska, catching a touchdown in his rookie debut. His fellow rookie Jordan Addison picked a lot higher than him, caught a touchdown in his debut as well from Kirk Cousins. And defensively, I'm going to go probably with the bottom guy there, Bucks linebacker Anthony Nelson for my defensive player of the game. 3 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 3 QB hits. Bucks +4 win outright, under 45. Saints 16-15 over the Titans. Very annoyed with Tennessee that they kicked a field goal down 4 instead of going for a touchdown, thinking that they would get the ball back, which they did not. And then the Saints decided to run the ball on 3rd and 6. Somehow the Titans allowed them to get it. If they had not, then the Saints would have kicked a field goal and covered, which they did not. So, very annoyed by this game. But super happy. Derek Carr looked really solid in his Saints debut. 23 of 33, 69.7%, 305 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Ryan Tannehill struggled mightily. 16 of 34, 47.1%, 198 yards, 3 picks for Tanny in this one. Running back Derrick Henry, who else would lead the game in rushing, 15 carries, 63 yards, 2 receptions for 56 yards. Saints wide receiver Chris Olave led the game in receiving, 8 catches, 112 yards on 10 targets. You had wide receiver Rashid Shaheed catching a touchdown from Carr in this game, his only score. And then DeAndre Hopkins, big target share for him, 13 targets, caught 7 for 65. Another game with a lot of defensive performances. I'm going to go with the top guy there, or the second guy, Titans defensive end Danico Autry. 5 tackles, 4 solos, 1.5 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 4 QB hits. Same stat line, just a couple less tackles per Saints defensive end Carl Granderson. And you have to give a game ball for the Titans to kicker Nick Folk, 5 of 5 on his field goals, 50 long in this game, scored all of Tennessee's points. Titans +3, they covered, under 41.5. Jags 31-21 over the Colts in Indy. Trevor Lawrence was pretty solid all day, 24 of 32, 75%, 241 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 7 carries for 21 yards. Anthony Richardson, first start, decent, 24 of 37, 64.9%, 233, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 10 carries, 40 yards, and a touchdown. So it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be for the Colts. Anthony Richardson, got to give him props for that. Jags running back Travis Etienne Jr. led the game in rushing, 18 carries, 77 yards, a touchdown, 5 catches, 27 yards on 5 targets. Not a good day for Deion Jackson in the lead back role. 2 fumbles and just 1.1 yards per carry there. Yeah, it was not very good. Jags running back Tank Bigsby also getting a touchdown on the ground. Big story, though, for Jacksonville was Calvin Ridley. First game, regular season game back in the league. 8 catches, 101 yards, touchdown on 11 targets. Big target share for him. Michael Pittman Jr. also had a big target share for the Colts. 8 catches, 97 yards, touchdown on 11 targets as well. Touchdown also going to Zay Jones for Jacksonville. Defensively, there's 2 guys. Jags linebacker Josh Allen, 10 tackles, 8 solos, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits. Massive day for him. That's what they've been waiting to see from Josh Allen, their former first-round pick. And Colts defensive tackle DeForest Buckner, also big day, 7 tackles, 4 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 2 QB hits, 26-yard fumble returned for a touchdown. Which I still don't understand how it was a touchdown when play stopped. Anyways, the Jags covered -3.5 over 45.5. Trevor Lawrence costing me money by not throwing for 300 yards. Commanders 20-16, close one over the Cardinals. This was one of the shockers, I thought, of the weekend. The Cardinals actually being competitive with Josh Dobbs at the helm was weird. But Sam Howell for Washington, his second game as a starter, as he started week 18 last year, 19 of 31, 61.3%, 202, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 2 carries, 11 yards, touchdown, and a fumble. So turnovers giving Arizona opportunities on the day. Josh Dobbs gave Washington opportunities as well, though. 21 to 30, 70%, 132 yards. Not terrible there, but he did fumble twice in this game. Cardinals running back James Conner led the game in rushing, 14 carries, 64 yards, 5 catches, 8 yards on 5 targets. Pretty good day for Conner there as the workhorse. Commanders running back Brian Robinson Jr. had a 7-yard receiving touchdown to go along with his rushing work. Commanders wide receiver Curtis Samuel led the game in rushing, 5 catches, 54 yards on 5 targets. And then Cardinals tight end Zach Ertz, big target share, 10 targets, caught 6 for 21. Defensively, bunch of guys 8 in this game. I'm going to go with the bottom 3. Why not? Cardinals linebacker Dennis Gardeck. Love me some Dennis Gardeck. 4 tackles, 3 solos, 2 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 3 quarterback hits. Commanders defensive tackle Jonathan Allen, 3 tackles, all of them solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, 3 QB hits as well. And then how about linebacker Cameron Thomas, second-year guy, San Diego State for Arizona, 1 tackle, 1 pass deflection, and a 2-yard fumble return for a touchdown. Cardinals +7. They covered under 38. Eagles, go Birds. Defending their NFC championship with a season-opening win in Foxborough on the day that Tom Brady gets inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame. Of course, the Eagles beat him, so, why not? 25-20 over New England. Mac Jones, 35 of 54, 64.8%, 316, 3 touchdowns, a pick, 2 carries for 15 yards. I was really impressed by Mac, actually. It was 16-0 early for Philly, and Mac brought them back and had them on the cusp of winning there at the end. Jalen Hurts did not play particularly well, 22 of 33, 66.7%, 170 yards, 1 touchdown, 9 carries, 37 yards, and a fumble. The fumble I thought was very bad, even though the defender put his helmet right on the ball. It was sloppy, a lot of rain in New England, but maybe that's why his passing yards are limited. It's just got to get that yardage up for Hurts there. Another surprise of this game was Eagles running back Kenneth Gainwell. Started the game, led the game in running back snaps and carries. 14 carries, 54 yards, 4 receptions for 20 yards. Led the game in rushing. Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown led the game in receiving. 7 catches, 79 yards on 10 targets. A third surprise. Why not? This game of surprises. Patriots wide receiver Kendrick Bourne. Big day for him. 6 for 64, 2 touchdowns on 11 targets. Devontae Smith also had double-digit targets in this one. 10 of them. Caught 7 for 47 and a touchdown. And then Hunter Henry for the Patriots tight end also caught a touchdown from Mac Jones. Defensively, got to go with the guy at the bottom. Eagles corner, big play, Darius Slay. 3 tackles, 1 solo, 3 pass deflections, and a 70-yard pick 6. Eagles covered -3.5 over 44 by 1. Surprise result here. That was a theme of the weekend. Raiders 17-16, spoiling Sean Payton's debut over the Broncos. Jimmy Garoppolo was ultra efficient, as he always is, with the jawline cut. 20 of 26, 76.9%, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 9 carries for 11 yards. Russell Wilson was actually pretty good, though. 27 of 34, 79.4%, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns. Would like to see that yardage number uptick with the amount of completions, but the efficiency was there and the no turnovers for Russ as well. Broncos running back Javonte Williams led the game in rushing, 13 carries, 52 yards, 4 catches, 5 yards on 6 targets. Broncos running backs, never mind. Oh, yeah, he led Denver in receiving. But leading the game in receiving was Raiders wide receiver Jacoby Myers, 9 catches, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns on 10 targets. Big day for Myers and his new team there. Then the touchdowns from Russ went to wide receivers Cortland Sutton and Lil Jordan Humphrey. Defensive player of the game here, I'm going to go with the middle guy there, defensive end Max Crosby for the Raiders. 5 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 2 QB hits. Raiders +3. They win outright under 43. How about the shootout in LA? Dolphins 36-34 over the Chargers. And I tried to tell y'all about Tua Tagovailoa, y'all, and the Dolphins. Tua had a monstrous day. 4th most passing yards in a season opener. Tyreek Hill had the 3rd most receiving yards, I believe. But Tua here, 28 of 45, 62.2%, 466 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, and a fumble. Really the only reasons why the Chargers were in this game with those 2 turnovers. Justin Herbert was also spectacular. 23 of 33, 69.7%, 228, 1 touchdown, 5 carries, 18 yards, and a touchdown rush. Austin Eckler led the game in rushing. They had a potent rushing attack all day for LA. Eckler, 16 carries, 117 yards, touchdown, 4 catches, 47 yards, and on 5 targets. Joshua Kelly was just as good, 16 carries, 91 yards, and a touchdown. Raheem Mostert scored a rushing touchdown for the Dolphins as well. And I mentioned Tyreek Hill, the Cheetah, was Cheetah quick. 11 receptions, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, 15 targets for Tyreek Hill. Super hyped to have a stack in one of my leagues. Dolphins wide receiver River Craycraft and Chargers tight end Donald Parham Jr. catching touchdowns for their respective quarterbacks as well. Defensive player of the game, there really wasn't a lot. So I'm actually going to go with the guy that didn't have any tackles. Chargers corner J.C. Jackson on the day, 3 pass deflections and a pick. Dolphins +3, win outright. Over 50 easily. 70 in that game. How about the Packers? The Jordan Love era is here, y'all. And I'm surprised our guy Danny Potter is not commenting about the GOAT status of Jordan Love already after one game. 38-20 over the Bears. Continued ownership in perpetuity of the Chicago Bears do the Green Bay Packers have. Anyways, Jordan Love was just really solid. 15-27, 55.6%, 245 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 carries for 12 yards. And just like I bagged on Lamar Jackson, then a bag on Justin Fields, because I've been saying this the whole time about Justin Fields. 24-37, 64.9%, 216 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 9 carries, 59 yards, a fumble. He's a rusher, not a passer. Just saying. Packers running back Aaron Jones, really solid day for him. 9 carries, 41 yards, touchdown, led the game in rushing outside of Fields. And then 1 massive reception, but he caught 2 for 86 and a touchdown on the day. Bears rookie running back Rashawn Johnson, touchdown rush on the day for him. Bears wide receiver Darnell Mooney led the game in receiving, 4 catches, 53 yards, a touchdown on 7 targets. Packers wide receiver Romeo Doubs, 2 touchdowns on 5 targets in his opener there. And defensively, got to go with my guy, Go Dogs, linebacker Quay Walker. 4 tackles, 1 solo, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection, 37-yard pick 6 for Green Bay. The Dogs played very well. The first-round picks there, Quay Walker, Devontae Wyatt. Packers covered +1.5. They win outright easily over 41. Rams, a shocker, 30-13 blowout of the Seahawks in Seattle. Matt Stafford, 24-38, 63.2%, 334, 3 carries, 11 yards. Geno Smith had, I believe, 9 yards passing in the second half, 16-26, 61.5%, 112 yards, a touchdown. Our guy John Babington said it was the offensive line. I'll take his word for that one. Didn't get to watch this one. But Seahawks running back Kenneth Walker III led the game in rushing. 12 carries, 64 yards, 4 catches, 3 yards on 5 targets. Kyron Williams, a surprise. He led the game in rushing for LA, even though 7 less carries for him than Cam Akers. 2 touchdowns on the ground for Williams. Cam Akers did salvage his day with a rushing touchdown, though. And how about the rookie? The rookie and I believe second-year guy for Tutu Atwell. The Rams wide receivers went wild. Wide receiver Tutu Atwell, wide receiver Puka Nacua. 6 catches for Atwell, 10 catches for Nacua, 119 yards apiece, 8 targets for Atwell, 15 for Nacua. It was just a masterful day for those 2 young receivers, and they are hot on the waiver wire this week. Seahawks wide receiver DK Metcalf catching the lone touchdown for Seattle on the day. Defensively, I'm going to go with Rams linebacker Ernest Jones. 9 tackles, 4 solos, 3 tackles for loss. Have to mention those Seahawks linebacker Bobby Wagner, 19 total tackles, 9 of them solos, and a tackle for loss. Rams plus 4.5. They win outright under 44 by 1. Sunday Night Football was not a very good opener. 40-0 Cowboys over the Giants. Largest blowout, I believe, in series history. I think 37-0 was the earliest or the biggest before this one. Dak Prescott really did not have to do a lot. It was rainy a lot in Jersey on Sunday night, but 13-24, 54.1%, 143 yards. Daniel Jones struggled mightily. I mean, they couldn't protect him worth a damn. So 15-28 for Jones, 53.6%, 104 yards, 2 picks, 13 carries, 43 yards. Tony Pollard led the game in rushing for the Cowboys, 14 carries, 70 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb led the game in receiving, 4 catches, 77 yards on 4 targets. You also had Cowboys wide receiver Cavante Turpin run a ball in the end zone. And then defensively, I mean, pick your Cowboy. I'm going to go with 4 guys. Defensive tackle Osa Odigizua, 4 tackles, 2 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 3 QB hits. Defensive end Dorrance Armstrong, 3 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits. And third guy is corner Deron Bland, 3 tackles, all of them solos, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection, 1 QB hit, 22-yard pick 6. And then the newly acquired corner Noah Igbenogany, who they traded Kelvin Joseph for corner from the Dolphins. 58-yard blocked field goal return for a touchdown is the first score of the game, which was very depressing. But anyways, Cowboys -3 covered easily. Under 44.5, though. And Monday Night Football, the thing that everyone's talking about today, the Jets 22-16 win in overtime over the Bills. Of course, the story was Aaron Rodgers going down after 4 snaps, 0 for 1 passing, and his season is done. Josh Allen, though, cannot turn the ball over 4 times. That is how you lose a game, sir. 29 of 41, 70.7%, 236 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 picks, 6 carries, 36 yards, and a fumble. Zach Wilson for the Jets played pretty well, I thought. 14 of 21, 66.7%, 140 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He got a lot of help. Jets running back Breece Hall, 10 carries, 127 yards, 1 reception for 20 yards as well. You had him leading the game in rushing. Bills wide receiver Stephon Diggs led the game in receiving. 10 catches, 102 yards, a touchdown on 13 targets. And then Jets wide receiver Garrett Wilson with just a miraculous catch that only Garrett Wilson can do, catching the lone touchdown from Zach Wilson on the night. Defensively, similar to the Cowboys game, pick your New York Jet. There was a lot of great defensive performances in this one. Two guys I want to highlight. Jets defensive tackle Quentin Jefferson, 3 tackles, 2 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 3 QB hits. And then the man that picked off Josh Allen 3 times, safety Jordan Whitehead, 2 tackles, 1 solo, 3 pass selections, and those 3 interceptions. And then last but definitely not least, undrafted rookie wide receiver Xavier Gibson, 65-yard game-winning punt return touchdown in overtime. That's what they brought him in to do. I believe from Southern Miss. Jason Brownlee is from Southern Miss. Where is Xavier Gibson? Is from? I don't know why I can't remember. Stephen F. Austin. There you go. FCS school. Massive impact for the rookie in his first game. Jets plus 2.5. They won outright under 44.5. Let's get some news here. The USFL news. Michigan Panthers re-signing linebacker Deshaun White. Integral part of their defense last year, coming in mid-season, but was with the Bills in training camp. So coming back to the USFL to develop more. College football news. Michigan State is in a world of hurt again. Michigan State head coach Mel Tucker has been suspended while undergoing an investigation of sexual harassment of a former rape victim and an activist on sexual assault and whatnot. So, yeah, it's not very good for the Spartans right now. Secondary coach Harlan Barnett will serve as the interim head coach, and former head coach Mark D'Antonio also coming in to serve as in an advisory role. NFL news, just a couple things that I picked up. The Jets reportedly, this goes along with Aaron Rodgers news from last night, they apparently tried to trade for Matthew Stafford, Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford, this offseason when the Rodgers trade talks stalled a little bit there before the draft happened. So that's very intriguing that that occurred. And apparently they weren't alone. Apparently other teams were calling for Stafford. Rams said, nope, we're not dealing him. The Colts trade negotiations with the Packers surrounding Jonathan Taylor. Apparently the Colts wanted wide receiver Christian Watson in the deal for Jonathan Taylor. So that would have been a blockbuster, to say the least. 2 very good young players there. But again, Green Bay said, nah. And former Titans offensive tackle Taylor Lewan announced he is retiring. I don't know if it was a real retirement. I'm assuming it was. It was on a podcast. Who knows? We say the truth all the time on this podcast. So, but yeah, he announced his retirement on a podcast there just recently. Couple guys going on IR. The Rams placed wide receiver Cooper Kupp on IR with his hamstring injury. Saints placing wide receiver Traquan Smith on IR. Seahawks did the same with rookie running back Kenny McIntosh. Injuries. So we had a lot. Week 1. Commanders defensive end Chase Young with his neck injury. He is not expected to play until at least week 3. He was out this week. So we'll see. Hopefully Young can get on the field for Washington ASAP. Panthers corner J.C. Horn. He has a hamstring injury. Haven't heard any updates on him. Luckily, he gets an extra day to recover, playing on Monday this week. Ravens, just devastating news again. Me being selfish for my fantasy team, but I mean, for the player as well. J.K. Dobbins, running back J.K. Dobbins, he is out for the season once again. Torn Achilles. Just terrible. I mean, I feel bad for the kid because I really had high hopes for J.K. coming out, especially in fantasy, but also in real life. Just cannot stay on the field. It's tough. Texan safety Jalen Petrie, he has a bruised lung. Lamar Jackson's knee hit him in the game when he was making a tackle and bruised one of his lungs. So he was staying at one of the hospitals there for observation. Bucks defensive lineman Kalijah Cansey, he has a calf injury. Ravens double dipped on the bad news this week. Defensive back Marcus Williams, he has a pec injury. And I was initially told it was a torn pec, but head coach John Harbaugh said he's not out for the season. He's just going to miss multiple games. So we'll see what he can do there. Browns offensive tackle Jack Conklin, he is out for the season, torn ACL and MCL. So right tackle is now a big area of need for Cleveland. Packers running back Aaron Jones, he has a hamstring injury. Raiders wide receiver Jacoby Myers, he is in concussion protocol currently. Saints defensive end Peyton Turner, he has a turf toe injury. It's going to require surgery, so he will probably go on IR out for a little bit. Broncos safety Caden Stearns, he is done for the season. Torn patellar tendon for the young Broncos safety. Eagles linebacker Nakobe Dean, he's out about a month. He has a foot injury, placed on IR today. Eagles corner James Bradbury, unlikely to play Thursday. He is currently in concussion protocol. Ravens center Tyler Linderbaum with an ankle sprain, and offensive tackle Ronnie Stanley with a knee sprain. They are both week to week. So Baltimore probably the most hit by major injuries. Week 1, Steelers defensive tackle Cam Hayward, he is out multiple weeks with a groin injury. Seahawks left tackle Charles Cross, he has turf toe. He is considered week to week currently. Chargers running back Austin Eckler, he is nursing an ankle injury. I mentioned already Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers, he is out for the season, torn Achilles. So what this means for that trade, for the end of that trade, the Jets will now send the Packers their second round pick because Aaron Rodgers did not play 65% of the snaps this year. And finally, the Steelers wide receiver Deontay Johnson, he has a hamstring injury. He's going to be out a few weeks. Let's talk about money extensions. The Saints locking up another starter there. They signed guard Cesar Ruiz to a 4-year, $44 million extension, $46 million max value. $30 million guaranteed there. Good contract for Ruiz and New Orleans. Not sure where they're getting the money from, but yeah, why not? One release to talk about today, the Bengals. They have released offensive tackle Lyle Collins from PUP, so he is now a free agent. We'll see if any of the needy teams out there want to take a shot on him. I know Seahawks already signed someone, but the Browns, I think, would definitely look at bringing him in with the Jack Conklin injury there. I don't think there's many other teams that are desperate for offensive linemen. Maybe Jimmy's Vikings there. Signing. So Chris Jones is back in Kansas City. He has agreed to a new 1-year, $25 million deal with the Chiefs. Same base salary of $19.5 million, but extra incentives to get up to $25 million. So Chris Jones is back. The Eagles, they did some linebacker maneuvering with the Nakobe Dean injury. They signed Nicholas Morrow to their active roster from their practice squad, and they also signed former Titans linebacker Rashaan Evans to their practice squad, so beefing up the linebacker spots with Dean on IR right now. The Seahawks, they signed Cowboys offensive tackle Jason Peters, 41 years old. He wants to play still and going to get a chance with Charles Cross injured currently. And the Browns, I mentioned they might be in on Lyle Collins. They did sign Rams offensive tackle Ty Nsekhe to help fill that right tackle spot. We'll see if he is the guy or if they do check out Lyle Collins. And one USFL to NFL signing, the Rams signing one of my Memphis Showboats, punter Brandon Wright, going to LA to punt there. And before we get to the pick standings, we have one Thursday college game to talk about. There's actually two going on, but one involving a ranked team. Bethune-Cookman, 1-1 team at number 22 Miami, who are of course 2-0. That one's 7:30 p.m. on ACC Network. Pick standings, we're all 0-1. We all picked the Chiefs last week on the Thursday night kickoff. Meant to change that to delete 2022 from that. It's all right though. So let's see who we pick for this week's Thursday night game. And we are all in lockstep again. Jimmy picking against his Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings heading to Philadelphia to face the 1-0 Eagles. 7.5-point favorites for the Birds at home. It's actually 7 now. But, you know, the Eagles, we absolutely love welcoming in the great franchise that is the Minnesota Vikings. And it's always a good time. I think we have a good time anyways in Philadelphia when it's Vikings-Eagles. So, yes, Minnesota, please come into Philadelphia. Feel welcomed. It's the city of brotherly love for a reason. We might roughhouse a little bit, but, you know, that's just how we show our love in Philadelphia. So, yeah, go Birds. Eagles win 2 nights from now. Total is 48. I like the over in that game with Philly scoring most of it. 8:15 on Prime Video. And that is the show for today, y'all. Thank y'all for watching. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on X and Instagram. FAA_bets on X as well. Have to calculate how we did this past weekend for the college slate. I didn't put out any NFL ones. I don't think. I can't remember if I did. FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on Facebook, YouTube, and X, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and TikTok at Football Addicts Anon on there. Next week, we'll be back talking NFL Week 3, Thursday night matchup, Niners hosting the Giants. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see y'all back on Football Friday.